In mid-August 2024, Relic released the Fall and Winter roadmap. The November patch promised VFX improvements, and the February patch promised audio improvements. Unfortunately, the VFX changes were both delayed to the February patch and reduced in scope. So let's have a look at what was delivered in the VFX and SFX department in the 2.0 patch. The biggest change is Relic completely replaced the announcer for US forces.
Battalions relinquish Rangers for us. About time. New ability unlocked. Permission granted to initiate assault operations. Rangers are available to take to the field. Designate assault positions at will, Commander. Infantry assaults will distract the enemy where needed, Commander.
The first thing you will notice is the dramatic shift in tone. Here is what Will had to say about the change during the deep dive.
Yeah, my name's Will. I am senior designer and multiplayer map designer on Company of Heroes 3. We originally went with quite a youthful, naive character because we wanted to portray the US Army when it's first starting out. It's their first engagements in North Africa and Europe. Over time, that theme just hasn't gelled as well as we'd like. It came across as a little bit too jovial. So we went for a little bit more serious, more down-to-earth character.
I didn't really play Co-1, but to me it feels they shifted it to become more like the announcer in that game.
We can now support rapid deployment.
We've been granted accelerated vehicle production.
Artillery support is now available.
105 howitzers are now available in the field.
And here is the Co-2 US announcer for comparison.
Assault engineers are on the lines and deployable. M10 tank destroyer ready. Advanced vehicle crew training now implemented. All units to adjust.
The second thing you may not have noticed is there used to be generic ability callouts on the new Battlegroup abilities.
Confirmed. The ability is ready.
But now they have been replaced with Battlegroup specific lines.
Artillery observers available to designate battery fire.
And this has been done for all 4 factions, not just US forces, which is great to see. This helps flesh out the first 4 DLC battlegroups. I recorded both at the same volume in the game's settings.
105 howitzers are now available in the field. 105 howitzers are now available in the field.
My testing shows the new US announcer is about 5 decibels quieter. Comparing this to the British announcer,
we have reserves of infantry available to bolster our ranks, Commander.
The new 2.0 US announcer is a similar volume, so I guess the old US announcer was too loud. There is a new sound when a match starts, though you will only hear this if you have music turned on. And another new sound when you lock in to your battle group. Relic also brought in a couple of music tracks that were only available in the campaign to the main menu rotation to freshen things up a bit. And while I'm here, Relic, please add a menu sound effects slider in the settings so I don't have to listen to this constantly while I'm queuing. Relic say they have retuned attenuation, increasing the shooting sound and reducing the impact sound. This has made some vehicles sound remarkably different. Perhaps they have replaced some sound effects on top of this. Here is a selection of before and after comparisons. These changes do appear to cause the explosions to reverberate for a shorter time. This should stop these explosions from completely drowning out other game sounds, which could happen in the later stages of big team modes when loads of shells are falling near constantly. I do still think there is a problem with directional sound. In Code 3, the audio isn't centered anywhere near the middle of the screen. Noises occurring off-screen on the bottom side are super loud, and the same noise in the visible area on the top of the screen is noticeably quieter. This quieter on top, louder on bottom sound phenomenon does occur in Code 2 as well, but to a much smaller extent. I believe this is due to the lower camera angle in Code 3, which we can compare with the view box shown on the tactical map. The game's audio is centered on the camera position, and the low angle in Code 3 causes the camera to be heavily displaced from mid-screen, making the audio shift far towards the bottom. But I'm not sure this could be fixed without changing the default camera angle. Regarding attenuation in Code 3, in the other two installments, it was very easy to hear what was happening across the map. This made it easy to keep track of the action that was occurring in a match with your ears alone. Oh! Instead of having to rely so heavily on visual cues like you do in Code 3.
One of our units has been slain.
Oops. As humans, one of the main things our hearing system does is help keep us safe from what we cannot see in front of us. I feel the game's audio should do the same, which was the case in Code 1 and 2, but isn't really true in Code 3. If we look at the load screen credits, you can see Code 2 used Miles' sound system, whereas Code 3 uses Wise for its audio. Could this be the reason for some of the differences in Code 3, or is it just a tuning issue? When it comes to the VFX changes, unfortunately there were none listed in the main area of the patch notes. There are a few in the bug fixes section, but nothing major, and this absence from the patch notes really highlights the reduction in scope of the VFX changes. The only two things worth mentioning from the bug fix section is they changed the suspension on the Easy 8, giving it the historically correct version, the reason why it has its name. And they changed the animation when you set a rally point on a production building. Now the flag flies down from the top of the screen and doesn't spin around anymore. The rally flag from the top rope, it's unbelievable. I prefer the more whimsical, older animation. I heard there may be improvements coming to flame effects, so I recorded the DAC Firestorm ability as well as infantry and vehicle flamethrowers, but I could not notice a difference. The flame effects in the new Canadian Shock Battlegroup do appear to be different. Using its burnout ability, the flames from it appear to put out more light than other flame abilities like Firestorm or Incendiary Bombing. Also, after you select the Pyrotechnics upgrade in the Battlegroup, now the flames and smoke have a red hue, which is new, so keep an eye out for this red fire in your games because travelling through it gives your unit some penalties. I don't think the flame effects in Code 3 look particularly good. Here are the Code 2 flames for comparison. The Code 3 flames do cause the fans on my PC to roar into action when they are on screen, so they must be quite taxing on performance as well. I also heard there might be changes to blood effects. Wounded or dead soldiers, on average, are leaving larger pools of this very dark coloured blood on the ground. From the max level of zoom out, this does tend to catch the eye more. That's all the VFX changes I could find. Code 3 has dramatically improved in presentation since launch, but I think the visual effects are one of the weakest areas, so it's a shame they didn't address them in this patch. The main effect in COH3 I still think is a letdown and would like to see redone is smoke. Something about it feels like it doesn't blend in with the game. Compared to the smoke in COH2, it looks like a step backwards. Sure, you get some swirly bits in COH3, but the COH2 smoke feels like it is part of the world, where the COH3 smoke feels like it is a mechanic sat on top of the world. I suppose the main advantage of the COH3 smoke is that it may be clearer to tell where it starts and ends, which could sometimes be a challenge in COH2. That isn't to say there were no other visual changes. Loads of icons were replaced. This was mainly on Battlegroup related stuff, but also on some basic abilities like drop towed weapon. I think the new icons are more cohesive with the game's current style, although sometimes they make it less immediately apparent what an ability does. This update also heavily reduced the COH2 icon usage. I saw this list from user on Reddit showing there aren't many COH2 icons remaining in the game, which was a big criticism of COH3 at launch. Quite a few unit icons, the ones that hover above them constantly, were also updated. The newer style seems to have a large chassis and a smaller turret, which can make it harder to distinguish between some units at a glance. Hopefully Relic will continue to work on icons. I would like to see the icons on the US Forces Veterancy Selection choice changed. Currently, both options are hidden behind identical stars, and this means you have to memorize which ability is which for every unit if you want to select it with a hotkey. What I would like is the majority of the ability's icon to be displayed. Perhaps this could be partially grayed out with a star in the corner or similar to represent the unlock choice. This way players can unlock based off sight, which works well with the grid key layout. So I'm happy with the audio improvements, but disappointed about the lack of VFX changes. Hopefully the sale numbers of the Fire and Steel DLC and of COH3 following the recent free weekend are good enough for Relic to continue to allocate budget towards improving Company of Heroes 3. A huge thank you to all of my Patreon backers, and if you're enjoying my content, I hope you consider coming on board.